Thanks everybody for coming back. Welcome back to the Dating While Adulting podcast. As it said in the intro, you know all the ways to contact us. Well, me and Reggie, whatever. But whatever you do, check us out on all of the platforms. Continue to download this podcast or watch it on YouTube. Do whatever you need to do to consume it. But we appreciate you consuming it. And I want to start off by saying happy holiday weekend to everybody who is celebrating the weekend, everybody that has a weekend off, everybody has that extra Monday off. Now, with that said, I understand that I'm saying that with the understanding that most people won't be listening to this episode until after the holidays, most likely because nobody really listens to podcasts during the weekends or during the holidays, especially except for me. And I don't know if that what that says about me, but I like listening to podcasts. When I'm in the car, I listen to podcasts. Whenever I'm doing something, have free time, I listen to podcasts. And it's weird because it's like I don't really listen to the radio much anymore. I don't really listen to music much anymore now that I'm thinking about it. And now, as I get older and I'm listening to more podcasts and stuff like that, now I like have a better understanding of like why my parents used to always listen to old music and stuff like that, old records and old tapes and stuff, even going back to 8 tracks. It's because shoot, the things that they used to talk about with the music that I listen to is the same thing that I'm dealing with when I'm trying to deal with and navigate the the current musical climate. A lot of this stuff is just, I don't understand. And I don't want to sound like the get off my lawn guy, whatever, but it's just weird to me, is some of the stuff. And while there's still good music out there, it's like I don't want to have to like look for it in the ways that you have to look for music nowadays, like through SoundCloud and all of that stuff. That's too much work for me. And since the radio plays only 5 songs and it's the same 5 songs for like 6 months to a year, yeah, when I get in the car and I drive someplace, I just throw on a podcast. I'm good. Yeah, I'm just letting the music thing go. And I don't want to hear songs that I love back in the 90s or even the 80s or even the 2000s, songs that I played like 800 million times and stuff like that. It's like, it's like, I'm gonna throw under the bus, but one of the women that we had on our Ask a Woman segment, Pamela, every time I ride with her, she will play JayZ. And it's like nothing against JayZ. JayZ is great, but she plays the same JayZ songs every single time I get in her car. And I know a lot of people like that. It's like they're in the past and the thing that they groove to in the past, they can just play that mess over and over and over again. I'm just not built like that. Music just gets tired and I need to move on after a while. I appreciate the oldies and they're cool every now and then. But man, yeah, I'm cool on that, and I'm cool on the new music. Yeah, so podcast work for me. I never thought I'd be this person. I never thought there'd be a day when I wasn't listening to music, when I wasn't searching for music, when I wasn't on the hunt for new music. Yeah, yeah, it's like yeah. Anyway, yeah, happy Memorial Day weekend, and if you listen to a whole bunch of old music, have at it. Anyway. So check this out. What I'm going to start off by talking about, and this does apply to dating in a certain sense, it's just confusing to me, but it ties into my vacation. I mentioned on a couple of other previous podcasts that I went on vacation. I went to St. Lucia, and it was kind of like a working vacation. It wasn't like a real vacation. And part of the reason that I really don't consider it a real vacation is because of the way everything kind of transpired. Now, I went to St. Lucia, like I said, and the reason that I went was because a female friend of mine, she has a friend who's getting married, who was getting married. And so at the time, that female friend that I had, she was dating. She was in a serious relationship with a dude, and her and the dude booked a trip to go to the wedding as a couple. Now, they booked that trip obviously too long ago because after booking the trip, they wound up breaking up. And so because they broke up, he wasn't going to the wedding. She had to go to the wedding because the woman that was getting married her was her friend from like childhood, like grade school. So she still had to go, even though he wasn't going. And so she asked me, well, she actually asked several different friends if they wanted to go, but hey, she had friends like a lot of the friends that I have, where, and I don't know how common this is. Maybe people can relate to it, maybe they can't. But as someone who travels a lot, I have a lot of friends that wish that they could travel, want to travel. They talk about traveling all the time. But when it comes down to putting money up to travel, then all of a sudden they can't do it. So they talk a big game. They always want to go, but then when it comes down to actually planning it, then it's like they come up with an excuse as to why they can't go. A lot of times it's money, but it could be several different things. But she couldn't find anybody else to go with her. So she asked me to go. And I have a reputation amongst particularly female friends that I have, that if they want to go somewhere or if they want to do something and nobody else can go or will go, they know that I am the person that they can come to ask, and I'll say yes just because I kind of like that experience. So she was like, yo, I, me and dude, we were going to stay at the resort. So I booked a place at the resort. It was a Sandals on St. Lucia. And she was like, if you can get a plane ticket over here, you know, you can stay in the room and take advantage of all of the stuff that the resort has to offer and all of that stuff. So I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll get a plane ticket. Flight costs about $700. Got the plane ticket and everything. So mm, booked the trip and all that stuff. So I'm going. Another reason that I don't necessarily refer to this as a vacation in the traditional sense, um, one is the reason that I just stated before, where it's like it wasn't initially something that I had planned. I was just like a fill in for someone because she broke up with her man. So that's the one thing. And two, I'm not really an island person. I'm not really that dude. So the whole idea of relaxing on the beach, and that doesn't appeal to me. I'm not a hot weather person. I'm from Ohio, and even though I've been in Atlanta for a long time, I still like the cold weather. I prefer winter over summer. I'm weird like that. And the other thing is, I can't even swim. So the whole idea of going to an island, whereas a lot of people, specifically black people, specifically black women, that would like just turn them on to no end. To me, it's just like, there's no situation where I would ever plan a vacation for myself that would involve going to an island. I'm just not built that way. I'm just not built that way. And on a side note, it kind of surprises me that islands are so appealing to black women and beaches are so appealing to black women, because when we're here at home, all they do is talk about they don't want to sweat, they don't like heat, they don't want to sweat out their hair. And so that was always confusing to me. But I did find out the solution to that, the whole hair thing, because it seems like when black women go to an island, they get their hair braided, they get fake braids in their hair, and I guess that takes care of sweating out the hair or whatever. I don't know, man. What women do is too deep for me. I don't even know why I went into it. Anyway, getting back to this trip and back to the whole point in all of this is that, like I said, she had booked at a Sandals. The resort was a Sandals in St. Lucia. And for people that are unfamiliar with Sandals, it's basically a place for couples. It's a place for lovers. It's a place for romance. That's their whole thing. It's like as you get there, they're like the towels are like folded in the shapes of hearts, and there are all these like romantic messages throughout the resort and all of that stuff. And it's funny to me because this woman that I went with, she is a friend. This relationship is as platonic gets. There is nothing going on or will go on between the two of us. We're just not. in that space. So much so that it was funny. She actually called the resort to see if she could get a room or a suite with two beds. And basically, basically they just laughed at her. So that was kind of funny. So yeah. So anyway, so that was another thing that was funny about it. Now let me go back for a second because while it wasn't really a vacation, it's not something that I would have chosen because I'm not the island person. Let me just say the exception is Hawaii. Hawaii was the truth. Hawaii is the only island that I go back to. And I think part of it is because you don't have to be at the beach. There's enough stuff going on in Hawaii that doesn't involve a beach or water that you can have fun with. And then on top of it, considering that Hawaii is part of the United States, you don't have to necessarily worry as much about making a wrong turn and getting your head chopped off by a machete. Now, now don't get me wrong. There are a lot of places, every place has a hood, every place has a bad area, especially places in the United States. So I'm not like trying to disparage any other country or island or anything like that, or act all xenophobic or like America first, none of that shit. But in the hood of the United States or hoods of United States or bad parts of the United States. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm running to go explore them in any city I go to in the States. But with that said, at least, I kind of know how to maneuver. I'm from Cleveland, and, you know, I've seen sketchy situations and stuff like that. So, I still might get my head chopped off by a machete, but at least I feel like I have a better chance in making it. But anyway, that's just that. So, with all of that being said, so going back to the whole island thing and all of that stuff. So we go to the island and everything. We're staying at the Sandals, and everybody is there for the wedding. So it's a whole bunch of couples. There are a couple people who are there by themselves, a couple women, and I'll come back to that in a second. But for the most part, it's couples, like people in love, not like me and my friend who are just there as friends. Like they're there for the resort. This is the vacation to them. And so we're all hanging out and stuff like that. But here's the thing that really kind of threw me off. And this is the reason I'm bringing all of this up, not to talk about my vacation or whatever you want to call it, not to brag or anything like that. But what was funny about that is that, and I think this is more prevalent amongst women than men. It seemed as though the minute that we got there and started interacting with the other couples, it seemed like the women in those couples had this determination to turn me and my friend into a couple. It was like, for whatever reason, they just couldn't accept the idea that we're two single people, we're both available people, we're both open to and looking for relationships, yet and still, they just could not wrap their mind around the fact that we did not want to be with each other. And it was funny because it seems like repeatedly in conversations, it was just like, does not compute. I don't understand, but I don't get why, he's single, you're single. And so it's like this pressure to make us a couple. And this is not the first time that I've heard this because, like I said, I've gone places. I actually went to Jamaica with another friend of mine for a wedding, and it was the same type of deal, kind of, sort of, where it's like women feel like if their female friend is single, they have to figure out, well, why don't you just get with that dude? Especially as long as the dude doesn't have any kind of diseases, as long as he's able-bodied, it's like they just don't understand why you can't get with that dude, as if you're just like waiting for the any available dude that doesn't have a disease or something like that. And man, I can only imagine the kind of pressure that would add if I'm a woman. And my female friends are like just on me about you should be in a relationship. You should be in a relationship. You should be in a relationship. Man, that would drive me nuts, boy. That would cause like stress to me because I tell you what, guys, we don't necessarily have that problem. For us as men, it's like if I show up someplace with women, I mean, with a female friend of mine, and she's attractive, a guy will step to me and say these words: "Is that you?" And that's actually happened several times. Like, "Is that you?" And if I say no, that means that that clears a path for that dude to try to get with her, and he won't hesitate to try to get with her. Even if the guy is in a couple and he's there with his wife or his girlfriend, he'll still ask, "Is that you?" And I'm like, nah, that's usually it. He might ask one other question. The question might range from, "Are you hitting that?" Or "Did y'all used to be something?" or something like that. It's like, and that would be it. We go about our business, and he will accept that there is something about her that's off, and not just off in general, but off for me. He'll accept that there's a reason that she is just a friend to me, and he won't like go deep and try to like make it into something or try to put us together and try to fix us up and all of that stuff. He'll just accept it and move on. But it doesn't seem like women are that way. It seems like women will try to pressure other women to try to make something out of it. And I've seen that several times before, and it cracks me up. And I can only imagine for the female friends that I have who have gone through that. It's funny because even like when we were there and we were talking about like people were asking like, "Yo, so are y'all a couple or whatever?" And like, nah. It's like the women would like give us like the side eye, like, mm-hmm. The fellas would be cool and mind their business, but the women would be like, "Yeah, right." It's like there are like two examples that come to mind that happened over that weekend. Like one is like we were going to lunch or dinner one night with one of the other couples there. And so while we're sitting there and stuff, eating and stuff, having just casual conversation, getting to know each other and stuff, she knew them because they were all friends. I was the one that was getting to know everybody. And so she like says, like, "Yo, so I don't understand what y'all doing." It's like, y'all kicking it, y'all dating, like what are y'all doing now? Even though we both told her that nah, we just cool. Still, it was like she felt like in this moment she would like get to the bottom of it as if we were lying for some reason and she was going to expose us or get the truth out of us or something like that. And it's funny because when she said that and stuff and she calls herself grilling us or whatever, finally her husband is like, "Man, mind your business." And that shut that down. But that was funny to me. So that was one incident. And then the second incident was I my friend who I went with, like I said, she was friends with the bride to be at the time. So on the day of the wedding, she had to go help the bride to be get dressed and all of that stuff that needs to happen on the wedding day. So that left me pretty much by myself to go about my business and all of that stuff. And I say it's the second incident, but it's two things in one. When I was like chilling by myself and doing what I was doing on the resort and all of that, it was funny because I would come across like a couple of the other women who were women that were there by themselves. And just in trying to like hang out with them, talk to them, get to know them and stuff like that, it was almost like they were stiff arming me. It was weird because it was like almost like, and I could have just been reading this wrong, but I don't think so. But it was like they were like, "I, you could talk to you, we can talk to you, but there's no way that we gonna mess up the thing with our friend by giving you some play and being part of some drama with you and your girl. And I'm like, we're really just friends, honestly. And then I get to the wedding, the actual wedding, and we're all taking our seats and everything like that before obviously the ceremony starts and stuff like that. So I'm sitting there by myself. I'm like casually interacting with people and stuff like that. It's about 30 to 40 people who were there for the wedding and stuff like that. And so out of the blue, one of them from the other side of the not room, because the wedding happened on the beach, but the other side of the aisle just yelled out, "Hey Michael, where's your wife?" And so, and then everybody just started laughing and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't really understand why they're laughing. But it was just weird to me. And I'm just like, really? Really? That's what we're doing? Like, as if I told y'all, she told y'all 100 times that we're not together like that. But still, y'all just gonna like keep that going. Like, all right, cool. And what really made it worse was I just happened to look over at the couple single chicks that were there, and they were looking like, oh, see, you said y'all were friends. It's just like, whatever, man. So basically, any chance that I had of getting any play on that particular weekend, that week that we were there, was pretty much shot down because the women just could not fathom the whole idea that we would show up at a Sandals as just friends. But hey, whatever, man. So that was funny to me. Still don't really understand why they were laughing, but hey, but it goes back to my point, and the reason that this was funny and I wanted to talk about it today was I just don't understand why women just feel compelled to put you together with somebody just because you're single and available. And it just speaks to how it's so much easier in so many different ways to be a man, because I just don't get that pressure from guys. It's like the most pressure that I get from guys is if I don't like a woman, but she's attractive enough to sleep with, they'll be like, man, I know you don't like her, but you should at least knock her down. So, you know, but even that doesn't compare to the drama that comes with somebody trying to convince you to be in a relationship with somebody that you don't want to be in a relationship with. But it's beautiful being a man. I love being a man. Oh, it's a shame that women can't experience the beauty of being a man. But yeah, the whole process of trying to convince her, it was just weird. It was just weird. And the beautiful thing about another thing about being a man is that even if a man were to try to pressure me into being in a relationship with somebody that I wasn't interested in, the thing that ultimately could shut it down all the time is the universal, man, she's crazy. If you tell another dude that a woman is crazy, they pretty much won't ask any follow-up questions. It's like universally guys understand that when you say a woman is crazy, they kind of just let that go. Yeah. So that's just that for that. I just wanted to spend some time talking about that. I know it's Memorial Day, it's a holiday, and Memorial Day is a holiday, and people won't be listening to this till afterward. So I just thought that was interesting to talk about. But I'm back, obviously, podcasting. Let me just end on this note. I was watching a documentary, and it was on Netflix, on Reggie's Netflix. And it was about Blockbuster Video. And it was, there is one Blockbuster Video that is still open in the United States, actually in the world. And it is located in Bend, Oregon. And they still rent videos, well, DVDs, just like the old days. And I put that documentary on, just not really thinking that I would just be watching. I was working out and just figured I'd put it on while I was working out. And I was just fascinated by that. And part of the reason I was fascinated by it was because it really did take me back to the day when people used to like go to Blockbuster before all the Netflix and chill. And Netflix and chill just seems crass. But inviting a woman to your crib to watch a Blockbuster movie, blockbuster movie just seems more sophisticated. Kind of like, kind of like back in the day when you had a woman and you used to make your little mixtapes and stuff where you put all your little slow jams on it and stuff like that. And Luther would sing about having sex with you, or man, well, L- Keith Washington would sing about having sex with you and romancing you and all that stuff. And eventually, everybody knew what it meant. It meant that he wanted to knock you down. Nowadays, you listen to the music and stuff like that, they just cut right to the chase, and it's just like, I want to fuck. And but and people talk about how there's no romance in music, even though the end result is the same. It's just how you say it. And that's how I feel about like the old days when I used to go to Blockbuster versus nowadays when somebody says Netflix and chill. It's like going to Blockbuster and renting a DVD was the equivalent of throwing in your slow jam tape when you had the woman at your crib. It's like you ease your way into it, you know? You got to take the steps that will eventually lead to you getting what you wanted, as opposed to nowadays where it's like Netflix and chill, which is the equivalent of like the modern day music where it's just like, I want to fuck. And it's like, even though you still want to get to the same result, it's just, the way you put it. It's like, I remember when I was one woman that I dated once, and we were just having a casual conversation, and she was like, it was weird. She was like, I know that when I meet dudes and when I go out with dudes, they just want sex. They just want to hit. But the phrase she used was, even though I know that, and even if I want to give it to them, they still have to, and this was the quote, they have to mac the pussy. Like, so basically, you have to like go through the steps, even though you want it, even though she wants it, you still have to go through the steps to get it. You can't just like take the fast and easy route. You have to mac it. You have to like romance it. You got to caress it and do all of the stuff. So, anyway, going back to the blockbuster thing, I just miss those days when it was like, yo, you meet a woman and stuff like that, or you're dating somebody and you've gone out a couple of times, and that first time when you're trying to get the woman to come back to your crib for the first time or whatever, and you're like, yo, I'm a come over. I'll get us something to eat, or I'll cook something. I'm gonna rent some movies, and I'm gonna go to Blockbuster. And then it's like you have to actually go to Blockbuster, and then you have to hope that the movie that you want, you have to hope that they still have copies available and somebody hadn't rented it already, which 9 times out of 10 would have already happened and stuff. That's why you never asked her what she wanted to see. That's why you will always just go get something. So, yeah, those were the good old days. Actually, those were the old days. I don't know how good they were because, like I said, the movies that I wanted, they were never available except like on a random Tuesday or Wednesday. Friday or Saturday when you actually had the date, those movies were never available. But still, it was just cool setting the mood and just showing her the bag of all the videos back even before they had the DVDs, when they had the VHS tapes, when you could show her like, yo, I went to Blockbuster, I got these videos for us. It just showed the effort that you put in, as opposed to saying, yo, I got Netflix set up, we can just stream something. There's no effort in that. See, these kids just have it too good. Oh boy. Now I am starting to sound like to get off my lawn guy. But with all of that said, that's it for me. That's all I had to talk about. That Blockbuster thing is real. That documentary is real. And the effort that comes with Blockbuster nights is 100% different, 180%, 180-degree difference from Netflix and chill. Just like a Luther Vandross, a Keith Washington. And I don't know why I keep mentioning Keith Washington. Out of all of the love singers throughout the history, Keith Washington is just the one that pops in my mind for whatever reason. Go figure that. But either way, a Keith Washington record is different from and that slow jam tape that you used to make, where you used to like press the record and play button at the same time. That's different from streaming some hip hop. Man, whereas you put your slow jam tape on and you could play that mess all night. You'd have sex through the slow jam tape. Man, cats today are like having sex to rap music. They actually play rap music while they having sex. It's like, what is this world? What does this world become? But with that said, that might explain some things, because I read an article that talked about how this younger generation is having sex less and less. I think I might have made reference to that in the early episode of another podcast. But yeah, kids today, well, younger people today are having sex less and less. And they talked about the various reasons as to why that might be. But shoot, part of it might be their insistence on playing rap music to get a woman in the mood. And it's and this is coming from me. I'm not even an overly romantic dude. So whatever, man. Dating while adulting. Some yeah, I'm all frustrated and stuff like that. Thanks for listening. Come back. Happy Memorial Day. If you're listening to this after Memorial Day, I hope you enjoyed your Memorial Day. If you didn't enjoy your Memorial Day, that's because you should have been listening to the podcast like I listened to podcasts over the holiday. Whatever. Bye. Yeah.